Hey, so today we're going to do centimeters and meters again, but we're going to be talking about how many more we need. So just like when we did inches and feet, remember the smaller the unit, the more you need, right? So if a centimeter is about the size of your pinky, or about the size of a blueberry, and a meter is 100 of those. So 100 blueberries, that's 1 meter, because remember, a meter is bigger than a yard. I would need more inches to measure something than I would need meters because inches are smaller. I mean, not inches, centimeters, but yes, I would need less inches as well. So for your 12-7 assignment, you're going to have to compare centimeters, like the size of a blueberry, and meters, like the size of a baseball bat. It's a little bit bigger than a yard. So you're going to have to compare things and tell me, would you need more centimeters or would you need more meters? You're always going to need more centimeters, and you will always need fewer meters because meters are bigger. You need fewer of them or less. So let's watch the videos for 12-7 before you begin your lesson.
You can use different units to measure the lengths of objects. Would you use more centimeters or more meters to measure the length of the teacher's desk? Think about this question during the lesson. Let's measure the desk using centimeters. The desk is about 91 centimeters long. Now let's measure the desk using meters. Is the desk more than 1 meter or less than 1 meter long?
Select your answer.
So it said that it was 91 centimeters long, and you can see this ruler. This is actually a meter stick, kind of like a yardstick, but it's 1 meter. Is the desk smaller or less than 1 meter, or is it more than 1 meter? It is shorter than 1 meter, so that would mean it is less than 1 meter.
It is less than 1 meter long because the meter stick is over the end. The desk is about 1 meter long. Why do we say that the desk is about 1 meter long?
So I want you to think, it said that it was 91 centimeters. In 1 meter, there is 100 centimeters. So when I'm looking at my ruler, it's kind of like a halfway mark. If this is 0 meters and this is 1 meter, is the desk closer to 1 meter or 0 meters? It's closer, it's very close, it's already past halfway, much closer to 1 meter or 100 centimeters. So that's why we say it's about 1 meter long, because it's closer to this side than it is to this side.
We say it is about 1 meter long because it is closer to 1 meter than it is to 2 meters. What rule can we make about measuring with two different size units? The smaller the unit, the more of them you will have to use to measure the same object. You used more centimeters than meters because a centimeter is a much smaller unit than a meter. When does it make sense to measure the desk using centimeters instead of meters?
When would you use centimeters instead of meters? Because centimeters are much smaller. If you're measuring a desk, when would you use centimeters instead of meters? Maybe if you're measuring the side of the desk here, because that isn't 1 meter, it's much smaller than 1 meter. Maybe if I'm measuring the drawer. So anytime something is smaller than a meter, like much smaller than a meter, it would make more sense to use centimeters. Let's see what they come up with.
It makes sense to measure the desk in centimeters when you want a more exact answer. Now you know what happens when you measure the length of an object using different units.
So what they meant by that is if you wanted a very specific measurement, you would use centimeters because it said exactly 91 centimeters. When we used meters, it was about 1 meter. It wasn't exactly 1 meter. So they were saying it's more specific if you want an exact measurement to use centimeters because it says it is exactly 91 centimeters. So let's watch the other video.
You can use centimeters or meters to measure the same object, and your answer would still be right. Yep, see for yourself. Remember the TV stand from the previous lesson? You could choose to measure it in centimeters, so it's about 96 centimeters. And if you want to measure it in meters, well, there are 100 centimeters in a meter, so the TV stand is about or close to 1 meter. I say about because 96 is close to 100, but not quite 100. With me so far? Great. When measuring, if you use larger units, you will use fewer of them. In our TV stand example, 1 is less than 96, so we used fewer meters. The TV stand is easier to measure in meters because it is close to 1 meter long. So when choosing units, it's helpful to choose the one that is easier to measure the length of the object with. Smaller objects with centimeters, and larger objects with meters. And remember, the larger the unit, the fewer units are needed.
So remember, that's the most important thing. The smaller the unit, the more you need. The bigger the unit, the less you need. Because smaller units are smaller, like centimeters, and larger units like meters are bigger. So just like I said the other day, think about the height, how tall a window is. If you're using tiny little jelly beans and you measure how many jelly beans it takes from the bottom of a window to the top, and then you measure the exact same thing using a box of cereal, you would need way more jelly beans to get to the top, and you would need fewer boxes of cereal to get to the top. That's because jelly beans are much smaller, so you need more, and the box of cereal is bigger, so you need less. Make sure that you are completing your 12-7 work and make sure you're thinking about the unit that it is saying. Does it say centimeter or does it say meter? Because you guys get a little mixed up with that. Make sure it says centimeter or meter.